Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode where we dive deep into the moments that defined not just entertainment, but culture itself. Today we're talking about one of the most polarizing yet groundbreaking events in Super Bowl history, Bad Bunny's 2026 halftime show that broke every record while sparking a political firestorm that reached all the way to the White House. February 8th, 2026. What was supposed to be just another Super Bowl Sunday turned into a cultural watershed moment that had everyone talking, from your Spanish teacher to the President of the United States. But here's the thing. Before we get to the controversy and the record-breaking numbers, we need to understand how we got here, because this story isn't just about one performance. It's about a cultural shift that's been building for years. Let's start with the numbers that nobody saw coming. Bad Bunny's halftime show at Super Bowl LX didn't just break viewership records, it obliterated them. We're talking about an estimated 150 million global viewers, making it the most watched halftime show in history. But those numbers only tell part of the story, because what happened around that performance was unlike anything we've seen in sports entertainment. When the NFL first announced Bad Bunny as the headliner back in October 2025, the reaction was immediate and intense. On one side, you had millions of Latino fans celebrating what felt like a historic moment of representation. On the other side, you had critics questioning why America's biggest stage was being handed to an artist who performs primarily in Spanish. Now, let's talk about who Bad Bunny really is, because that context is crucial to understanding why this became such a big deal. Born Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio in Puerto Rico, Bad Bunny had become one of the most commercially dominant artists of the streaming era. By 2025, he had been Spotify's most streamed artist globally 4 times and had won 6 Grammy Awards. This wasn't some unknown artist getting a lucky break. This was one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. But here's where it gets interesting. Bad Bunny wasn't just successful. He was politically vocal, particularly about immigration policies. Throughout 2025, he had been an outspoken critic of the Trump administration's immigration enforcement, even going so far as to cancel the U.S. leg of his world tour because he was concerned that ICE agents might target his largely Latino fan base at concerts. The controversy reached fever pitch when President Trump himself weighed in. "I don't know who he is," Trump said when the announcement was first made. "I don't know why they're doing it. It's like crazy. I think it's absolutely ridiculous." But Trump didn't stop there. As the Super Bowl approached, his criticism became more pointed. "I think it's a terrible choice. All it does is sow hatred." Then came the bombshell announcement. Trump declared he wouldn't even attend the Super Bowl, breaking with tradition for sitting presidents. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem escalated things further by saying that ICE agents would be all over the Super Bowl and that only law-abiding Americans who love this country should attend the event. The political theater reached new heights when conservative group Turning Point USA organized a competing all-American halftime show headlined by Kid Rock, scheduled to stream at exactly the same time as Bad Bunny's performance. The contrast couldn't have been starker. On one side, the most streamed artist in the world performing in Spanish. On the other, a deliberately nationalist counter-programming effort. But here's what made this situation so fascinating from a business perspective. The NFL didn't blink. Commissioner Roger Goodell doubled down on the decision, calling Bad Bunny one of the great artists in the world and emphasizing that the performance was meant to bring people together. The league was clearly betting that the potential backlash was worth the massive global audience they could attract. The Grammy Awards just 1 week before the Super Bowl added even more fuel to the fire. Bad Bunny made history by becoming the first artist to win Album of the Year for a record performed entirely in Spanish. But it was his acceptance speech that really got people talking. "Before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say ice out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens. We are humans and we are Americans." That speech set the stage for what everyone expected would be a politically charged halftime show. The anticipation was incredible. Would Bad Bunny use the Super Bowl stage, watched by 150 million people, to make an even bigger political statement? Here's where Bad Bunny surprised everyone. In his pre-Super Bowl press conference, he emphasized that his performance would be fun, easy, and centered on dance, what comes from the heart. He deliberately avoided addressing whether the show would touch on immigration, ICE, or Trump. This wasn't what anyone expected from an artist who had been so politically vocal. When game day arrived, the atmosphere was electric. The matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots was compelling enough, a rematch of their classic 2015 Super Bowl that had set viewership records at the time. But all eyes were on halftime. Bad Bunny's 13-minute performance was a masterclass in cultural celebration. He performed entirely in Spanish, featuring traditional Puerto Rican musical elements alongside his reggaeton hits. The staging included dancers representing different cultures and ages, with Apple Music's promotional tagline, "February 8th, the world will dance," proving prophetic. What made the performance so powerful wasn't just the music, it was the representation. For the first time in Super Bowl history, a Latino artist was headlining the halftime show, and he did it unapologetically in his native language. The visual impact was undeniable. Here was Puerto Rican culture being celebrated on the biggest stage in American entertainment. The ratings were immediate and staggering. The performance didn't just break records, it redefined what was possible for Super Bowl viewership. The 150 million global viewers represented a new high-water mark, driven largely by international audiences and younger demographics that the NFL had been trying to reach for years. But the real story was in the streaming numbers. Bad Bunny saw a 340% increase in Spotify streams in the 24 hours following his performance, with his songs dominating charts not just in Latin America, but globally. His Instagram followers jumped by 3 million in a single weekend. The performance had done exactly what the NFL hoped. It brought in new audiences while creating cultural moments that transcended sports. The political reaction was swift and predictable. Trump supporters felt vindicated in their boycott threats, with some claiming the performance was anti-American. Conservative media criticized the NFL for abandoning its traditional audience. The Turning Point USA counter-programming event claimed victory, though their viewership numbers were never officially released. But the numbers told a different story. Despite all the controversy and boycott threats, Super Bowl LX became the most-watched program in television history. The audience wasn't just bigger. It was more diverse, younger, and more global than ever before. The long-term impact became clear in the weeks following the game. Duolingo reported a 150% spike in people signing up for Spanish lessons. Bad Bunny's tour announcement for later in 2026 sold out within minutes. Brands that had advertised during the game saw significant engagement from Latino consumers, a demographic that represents enormous purchasing power. What's particularly interesting is how this controversy revealed the changing demographics of America and American entertainment. The NFL's decision wasn't just about Bad Bunny's talent, it was a business calculation based on the fact that Latino fans represent 39 million of their viewers, and that demographic is, on average, 10 years younger than the league's median viewer. The performance also highlighted the global ambitions of American sports leagues. The NFL has been aggressively expanding internationally, with games planned for London, Madrid, Melbourne, Mexico City, Munich, Paris, and Rio de Janeiro. Having the world's most streamed artist perform in Spanish wasn't just about American audiences. It was about establishing the Super Bowl as a truly global event. Critics of the decision pointed out that previous Super Bowl halftime shows had featured international artists like Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, but they had performed primarily in English. Bad Bunny's choice to perform entirely in Spanish was seen as either a breakthrough moment for Latino representation or a departure from American tradition, depending on your perspective. The cultural impact extended far beyond entertainment. Latino advocacy groups praised the performance as a moment of visibility and validation for a community that often feels marginalized in mainstream American culture. The fact that Bad Bunny performed in Spanish sent a message about linguistic diversity and cultural pride that resonated with millions of people. From a purely artistic standpoint, the performance was widely praised by music critics. Bad Bunny incorporated traditional Puerto Rican bomba and plena rhythms alongside his reggaeton hits, creating a musical journey that celebrated his cultural heritage while remaining accessible to a global audience. The collaboration with Green Day, who performed before the game, also added an interesting dynamic. Green Day, longtime critics of Trump, represented a different kind of political stance, one rooted in punk rock tradition and American counterculture. The pairing suggested that the NFL was comfortable featuring artists who weren't afraid to express political views. But perhaps the most significant aspect of this entire story was what it revealed about the changing nature of American culture itself. The fact that an artist performing in Spanish could draw record audiences suggested a shift in how Americans, particularly younger Americans, think about language, culture, and identity. The business implications were massive. Advertisers took note of the massive Latino engagement, with many brands already planning Spanish-language campaigns for future Super Bowls. The success of Bad Bunny's performance proved that diverse programming could drive viewership rather than limit it. Looking back now, Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance represents a turning point in American entertainment. It showed that cultural authenticity could coexist with mass appeal, that political controversy could actually drive rather than hurt viewership, and that the future of American entertainment might be more multilingual and multicultural than anyone had imagined. The aftermath continued to ripple through 2026. Bad Bunny's subsequent tour became one of the highest-grossing concert tours in history. His influence on fashion, language learning, and Latino representation in media continued to grow. The Super Bowl performance had given him a platform that transcended music, making him a cultural ambassador in ways that few artists ever achieve. For the NFL, the gamble paid off beyond their wildest expectations. The league gained credibility with younger, more diverse audiences, while proving that they weren't afraid to take calculated risks. The success of the Bad Bunny halftime show influenced their approach to entertainment programming for years to come. The political controversy that seemed so intense in the lead-up to the game ultimately proved to be more noise than substance. Despite all the boycott threats and angry rhetoric, more people watched the Super Bowl than ever before. The silent majority, it turned out, was interested in great entertainment regardless of the language it was performed in. This story also highlighted the power of music to transcend political divisions. While politicians and pundits argued about immigration and cultural identity, millions of people simply enjoyed watching one of the world's best performers put on an incredible show. The universal language of music proved stronger than the divisive language of politics. Thanks for joining me for this look at one of the most significant cultural moments in recent American entertainment history. Bad Bunny's Super Bowl performance wasn't just a halftime show, it was a statement about where American culture is heading and who gets to define what it means to be American in the 21st century. What did you think of the performance? Do you believe entertainment should remain separate from politics? Or do you think artists have a responsibility to use their platforms to speak on important issues? And how do you think this moment will be remembered in the broader context of American cultural history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please keep the discussion respectful. This is one of those topics where people have strong feelings on all sides. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most talked about moments of 2026, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories that examine the intersection of entertainment, politics, and culture. I'll see you in the next episode where we'll be exploring another moment that got everyone talking. Until then, keep questioning, keep learning. And remember that the most interesting stories are often the ones that make us think about who we are and where we're headed as a society.